Did you know that your core money beliefs are set by the age of 7? For many of us, these beliefs are created unintentionally by how our parents talk about money or don't talk about money, how TV and books commonly portray people who have a lot of money, and other cultural impacts on how money moves from person to person. Today, we will talk about how to intentionally set your child up for financial success into adulthood. So, when I say mindsets or core beliefs, what I'm talking about is actually money scripts. So, these money scripts influence how you value, spend, share, give money. It impacts every part of the money process, and it is subconscious, so it's not something that you think about on a regular basis, but it is developed in childhood and then it continues on. What are these different beliefs? So the first one is money avoidance. So this is the belief that money is bad, that it is corrupting, or that a person does not deserve to have money. So maybe you feel like, I don't want to have a lot of money because that would make me a bad person. You can see this in a lot of different religions and things like that, where people will try to have less or feel like they shouldn't have as much because they feel bad, because someone else doesn't have what they have. And it also is seen when you avoid looking at your finances, or you try to avoid thinking about them in the first place. Like, you don't really want to be dealing with money because it's just nothing good there. You just avoid it. You go to work, make your money, pay your bills, but beyond that, it's a sore subject. There's also money worship. So that's the idea that more money will solve all problems and bring happiness and security. Like, if I win the lottery, my life will be better. That is basically what the money worship is. You're just like, okay, the money will do this, the money will do that. And the problem comes in there. It's like, okay, yeah, of course, if I had more money, that would solve the problem. But there's plenty of people with a lot of money that still have a lot of problems around money because they haven't adjusted their mindset here. And so that can definitely cause a problem. Money status, the belief that self-worth is determined by financial success, social class, or the ability to display wealth. So you probably have heard keeping up with the Joneses. That's what this is in that aspect, thinking that I have to have the latest phone, I have to have the brand name to show that I am worthy. It's going to be more flashy in terms of jewelry and clothing, and openly showing the wealth that they have. And there is a fine line between, you just got it like that, and then you just trying to flaunt. And it can definitely be felt and heard on so many different levels. But those are the three of the ones that are like the worst ones, and the one that we're mostly aiming towards and what we would like our children to develop is money vigilance. So that's the tendency to excuse me, focus on like financial security, thinking about money in terms of like saving for a rainy day, and just having a good, like what we know to be like a stable and successful money habit. But it can be too much. There can be too much of a good thing. So when it's too much, you can be overly concerned about financial security, right? You may not want to spend your money because you're too worried that if you do, something will happen and you won't have enough, even though there is enough there. You could be anxious. There could be secrecy around the money, and then once again, that fear could be there too. So finding that balance is important. And with the technique that I'll be teaching today, the no strings attached allowance, it will definitely help children to be on the more stable path of money vigilance, reducing the anxiety and fear, and then also teaching them more values and knowing like money isn't an end all be all. It is a tool, and this is how you use it and get it to work for you. how do children develop these mindsets, right? At such an early age, 7, for most people, where does this come from? So you can think back to your childhood, early childhood memories. Like, what did you learn about money? A lot of people will say, like, the love of money is the root of all evil. And then someone will say, money is the root of all evil. And so then that just kind of puts something in your mind, like, money is bad, right? So if money is bad, why would you want to get money? And so you kind of are, there's a dissonance, there's a disconnect where you're in your mind, you might be thinking money is bad, but in your, you still have to go to work physically to earn money, so you keep missing, there's a gap basically. And so that can lead to a lot of lack. And a lot of people are moving away from that mindset, but I know as children way back when we were growing up, that's something that you heard more so often. But even hearing parents talk about rich people and thinking like, oh, some people are just like greedy, they don't, rich people don't care about the poor, they should be giving more, helping out more. So you start having this negative idea of what it means to have a lot of money. Like, people with a lot of money don't share their money, and that is why others are suffering. It just doesn't work that way. You also see it in movies like the Scrooge. He's the rich man, he got all the money, and the kind people are the poor people. And he has a change of heart in the end, and it's beautiful. But it's also, there are people out there who were kind in the beginning. When they made their money, they were kind enough to share it too, and you don't see that as often in movies being portrayed. Usually the wealthy person is also the person that's committing, that is also the villain as well. And so subconsciously you start to think like, oh, rich people are the bad people once again. So you start having that mindset around those things. And so when you think of that and you think bad people have money, they did something bad to get the money, and they're not sharing the money, and that's what's causing the disruption, you have a very scarce mindset. You have a scarcity mindset. But when you have an abundance mindset, you realize that, one, you don't have to do bad things to get wealthy. There are plenty of people doing amazing things with amazing businesses and aren't corrupt, aren't cheating, and making plenty of money. Actually, those are the ones that are making the most. Those who are living in the highest purpose, and doing good things and getting rewarded for it with money. They're doing the most, and they're sharing abundance. To think that those who are wealthy are taking from someone else, that's a scarce mindset, because that's having the idea that there's just this pie that we're all sharing, when in reality it is more like we are all planting seeds, growing them, and then sharing amongst each other. Myron Golden, an amazing business coach, tells his story. He says that when he didn't have any money, he fixed his own cars. And that's not a bad thing, right? Like, a lot of us might not even know how to fix our own cars, but he knew how to fix his own car. So he would fix his car up. And then eventually when he started making money, he would pay people to fix his car up. And now he has even enough money to pay people to wash his car. So not only does he able to put more money in someone else's pocket, he's able to pay for these other like luxury services as well, also creating more money in abundance. And now they can take that money and do what they please with it. So you're creating more. When he just had his car and couldn't afford to get it fixed, he could only do for him. Now that he has more money, he's able to give more. Do you see? And it doesn't necessarily like, well, that money could be going to the poor. That's how he chooses to spend his money. People can give to the poor as well. That is a choice, and we should all give and do our part, but we shouldn't look down on or, judge someone because they're choosing to spend their wealth how they want to spend their wealth. We all have access to wealth, and when we get it and we make our way there, we can spend and give how we please, but we shouldn't be judging those who are able to buy those luxurious things. We should have the abundance mindset to say, that's amazing, I'd like that one day, and this is what I'll also do with that money as well. So creating that mindset in your children is important too, because that impacts how they grow up and how they operate with money as adults. So, how do these money beliefs and mindsets come into play in adulthood? So, if you have like that money avoidance that was first mentioned, one thing is going to be hard to look at bills, to think about budgeting, to really get an idea of how much you have coming in and how much you have going out the door. You don't want to deal with money, you don't want to talk about it, and that could have came up in childhood with parents saying, I don't want to talk about it, bills, or we're talking about grown folk things, like we're talking about money, that's grown folks business, don't worry about it. So that will probably can create a certain mindset for you to be like, oh, okay, this isn't something that you share. Or like my mom or my dad seems to get very upset when I mention money, so there might be, there's a lot of negative associations with money, and this isn't the case for everyone. For a lot of people it is. You might feel less adequate because you're comparing yourself to others, and this can come up a lot when you're growing up, especially in schools where you're with other kids, and like there's a lot of ranking about like clothing and brands, and even the music you're listening to, like they talk about money, 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 gotta make a lot of money, chase the bag, blah 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 blah, and if you ain't got money, then you ain't worth nothing, and that ain't that ain't a correct assumption at all. So it leaves you in debt, always trying to keep up with the Joneses, always in a negative. But hey, look at my shoes, look at my watch, look at my car. I'm still worth something. And so we have to teach our children that their value isn't in the amount of money that they have. Their value is in who they are. They were born worthy. When a child is born, we look at that child and we say that child is perfect, right? And then it just makes me wonder, at what point do we stop thinking that child is perfect, and stop thinking about ourselves as that well too, like we came here perfect, just the way we are, we have everything we need to become everything we need to be. We need to hold on to that idea, and that will keep people from feeling less adequate, because they're not comparing themselves to others in that money status mindset. That retail therapy, that goes with the money worship, thinking, okay, maybe if I just buy something, I'll feel better. If I had more money to buy what I need and what I want, I'd be happy. If I could afford to buy that $500 purse, then I would be happy. And so learning how to be happy with what we have, creating our own happy within ourselves. And it's okay to want those things, but the difference between wanting them just to want them and wanting them because they will make you happy, there's a huge difference between those two, and something that is needed to be instilled in our children. And the no strings attached allowance does that too, because the child is able to separate their the what money is and their worth as a person. um yeah, also can lead to overspending. This happens often for people who are kind of in the money avoidance. They might think money is bad. There was one example of this woman who actually had we call like a trust. So she was getting this huge monthly amount, but she felt bad about it, getting the money, because she hadn't always had, access to so much. And so she would spend as quick as possible and be broke by the end of the month because she just didn't feel good about having that much money. So yeah, it's all here in the mindset, and how we think about things is how we're going to spend our money, as well. And then also, if you're going to say I'm always broke, then you might always be spending, because you're trying to live into that narrative that you are consistently repeating out of your mouth, I am always broke. So you keep living that way. And so that's where you have to start bringing in affirmations and really thinking about your mindset and how do you talk about money, how do you think about money, because your children are watching and picking up on that as well. And then also financially enabling family members. So you may have seen like, oh, it's family, so you have to give them money. Or you see your parents give money that they didn't really have to someone because they have to help them out, which is okay too. But learning when to stop giving money, because sometimes people don't need money, they need advice. And I've come into a couple of situations where I've had to give people advice instead of money, because I can see it as a continuous cycle. People asking for money over and over again. Some things needs to change. If you never have money consistently, you have to do something different besides going around asking other people for it. And so learning when to say no, enough is enough, and not continuing that cycle of giving money. And one of my favorite pieces of advice from my dad is don't give money you can't afford to lose. And what that means is that if you have an $800 rent or something due, and somebody needs to borrow $100, and you have eight, and your rent's due at the end of the week, don't give them that $100, because you can't afford to lose it if they can't pay you back. Now, if it's just like $10 and you got it, and it don't matter if they pay you back really or not, give it to them, because that way you won't sour a friendship. I've had friends who have borrowed money recently, not paid it back, and because it was money that I couldn't afford to lose, I allowed that money to go, but I won't allow that person to borrow money anymore, and I'm not going to end the friendship over it. Like, it just shows me, hey, that was your character. You own up to it and fix it, or you don't. That's your business. I ain't gonna hold it against you. But now I know from this point forward. So being aware of these kinds of things helps you to make better financial decisions, which will trickle down to the children as well. But let's get into this no strings attached allowance. So I actually learned about the no strings attached allowance in a course called Parenting Solutions. The teacher, her name is Amy, and she says that basically there's a couple of reasons that really made a lot of sense to me. And she said, think of it as a training tool, not a payment, to avoid kids getting a what's in it for me attitude. So a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to pay my kids so they know that what it means to earn money. But you think about it, like, nobody else gets paid for doing chores. It's something that they have to do anyway. And so when you pay them for something that they should be doing, now they're like, oh, I can negotiate. Okay, if you want me to do this, then you have to do that. Pay me this or that. And it's just, it gets messy, and you don't get paid for washing dishes. Wash your children. And I like this quote. She says, we don't pay kids for what they should be doing. We do things because it comes with living in a house and being part of a family, and we help each other out. So I'm not going to pay you to wash dishes. I'm not going to pay you to do this because I don't get paid. It's like, yeah, you're the parent. Yes, I am. But a family, we all help each other out, and we all contribute. It's not just the parents give, and the kids get to sit and take. We all have to learn to be responsible, because ultimately it helps the family to function better. As the kids get older, they can take on more responsibility. Doesn't mean the parents step out of the picture completely, but now they can do more for themselves, so that when they step out the door as adults, they are more independent. In the book, the Manager Mom Epidemic, I love this book. He talks about how children have become emotionally priceless. Like, we love our children, we care about them, and we're having them for that reason. But they have become like economically worthless. Like, they don't really be doing much to contribute to the household. They're usually like chilling, they're taking a lot, and we don't expect much from them. And so, but then we get annoyed when they don't help out. So we haven't trained them as we should to get them to that place. And so that book helps you to get your children to start contributing more to the family, because Amy calls it family contributions, not chores. And so that's what I would recommend, to stop saying chores and say family contributions. Home is where children learn that everyone needs to contribute for the household to function. Family life is a team sport, not your entrepreneurial endeavor. I love that. We as a family, we function and we work together, and a lot of times the mom takes on the role of like the glue and holding everything together, which is fine, but it's like she needs help too. Like, cleaning the kitchen isn't for mom. Cleaning the kitchen is for everyone, because we all benefit from a clean kitchen. It's not just, I didn't use these dishes, why do I have to wash them? This is me. I wash dishes all the time that I didn't use. We all can contribute. It helps the house run better. It helps mom to have more free time. Like I have had so much free time. I've had the children helping cook dinner. That is an essential skill that kids need. Too many people do not know how to cook when they leave home. Their parents are not teaching them because they don't have the time or the energy or haven't even really thought about teaching. Comment below. Did your parents actively teach you how to cook food, so that when you left home you knew how? But yeah, it's been so nice, like having them do their own laundry. We're still working. It takes a while to get everything on board. It takes a couple of weeks, but it is so worth the effort and energy, because at the end of the day, like, I don't have to do everything. I can sit down, like, twice a week my little sister lives here too, and she cooks dinner, and then my children, I'm teaching them how to cook, so ultimately they can get to that point as well. In the books he talks about at the age of 9 is when children should be able to do like this whole list of things on their own. And he does say like you should subtract 30% if the child has like ADD or ADHD from their age. So subtract 30%, go back a few years, and that's where they're at developmentally, and focus on that list. So it'll take a little bit longer, but it's not impossible. But it's good to know like where you're standing according to your child's cognitive abilities. Like, it is a really, really good book. So, when you are ready to implement the no strings attached allowance, something to talk about firsthand with the children is about values, and not just only in this conversation, but you can let them know, hey, this is what we're doing. We're giving you this allowance with no strings attached because we want you to understand the value of a dollar and learn how to manage your money. But when you're talking about values, this is something that I do just on a regular basis. I'll say the best things in life are free. And so a lot of times I'll point out when there's a beautiful sky or the landscape looks really beautiful. I'm like, wow, how amazing is that? And we try to put more value in things that we don't have to pay for: hugs and kisses and spending time together. And comment, it's so nice to spend time with speaking on that, letting children hear that and understand that. They're going to put more value on that too. They value that more as well. They just don't know how to put words to it. I also encourage them to make gifts, and that the best gifts are those that come from the heart, whatever that means to them, whether they're drawing a picture or just making something or thinking, oh, I know this person will love that because they said that, or they like this and I know they like this, and you just get it for them. Because a lot of times kids will get, they have gotten things for people that are more for them than for the person. So teaching them how to think of other people, but teaching children the values of money early on is so good, and it keeps them from developing that money worship, like thinking money is how they buy happiness. And it does increase it, it does improve the quality of life, no doubt, yes. But thinking that you can't be happy without money is the real thing that we need to be focusing on for the children, and talking to them about that as well. And then when giving them the money, letting them know, hey, you have money, you will be getting money to spend, but these are the expectations. So you still set boundaries on the money. Like here we have 3 categories: save, spend, and give. And at one, when we first started, we paying $5, and $3 would go to spend, $1 would go to save, and 1 would go to give, mandatory. And that just teaches them to make it a habit of saving a portion of their money. I was a financial coach for 4 years, and I taught my clients to put their savings on autopilot. And so this is a way of them doing that physically. Another thing is paying them in physical cash so that they can feel it in their hands and have that mind-body connection between money. Because when it's digital, studies have shown, and you know for yourself how easy it is to swipe, 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 versus when you have cash and you see it physically dwindling, you have that feel for it. So paying them in cash, especially in the early years, is so important, so they get a feel for what money feels like going out of your pocket. Also, what do they pay for? So for us here, the kids have to pay for candy and they pay for toys. I don't buy those 2 things. And then also they are only allowed to have 1 soda per month because soda is so bad, and they like it. And that was our win-win compromise situation. So they're allowed to have soda once a month, and then they can use their money to buy that. And when you think about giving, so some people if they go to church and things, will want to give money to church, and that's fine. They save their money to give for gifts too, and then they also they put money, they have collected money for homeless people. We have recently moved back to a major city where the population is bigger, and so they're more interested in giving, and that's just something that they felt in their heart that they wanted to do. So like finding something that whatever they want to give to a cause that they may be interested in is great too, and they will feel more motivated to do so. And then also it feels good for them to buy gifts with their own money for people. They feel so big and so grown up. That gives them that boost of confidence that they need. And finally, this no strings attached allowance teaches delayed gratification, which is a major skill for children's success later on down the road. And so I'm sure you've seen those videos in the TikToks where parents put like something delicious like a candy or french fries in front of their children and tell them to wait, don't eat it just yet. And the kids are singing and dancing, some of them peeking, some of them just eat it. They ain't got time, they ain't waiting. What you talking about? But what these kids are doing, the ones that are like able to wait for the parent to return patiently, they have developed that skill of delayed gratification. And that comes from parenting that is consistent, which allows the child to trust the words of the parent. And so when you are able to do that too with the no strings attached allowance, because you're able to pay them consistently, they're expecting it, and now they're able to delay gratification and wait, and not having to get paid every day or having to buy candy every day, because they know, okay, I get paid on Friday, I can wait till Friday. And this delayed gratification is so powerful. There was actually an experiment conducted in 1968 by Dr. Walter Mischel. He has a PhD in psychology. He was a professor at Columbia University. And so basically he had 4-year-olds. They were left in the room with a marshmallow. And they were left in the room with 3 marshmallows, a bell, and a choice. They could ring the bell, and then Dr. Michelle would come back and they would get 1 marshmallow. One, or they could wait for him to return on his own, and then they would get 2 marshmallows. So they some kids would like ring the bell like ding 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 while others would wait out the full 20 minutes, right? So they would sit there like this, waiting, okay? So those who like, soon as he left, was like, bing, 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 hey, bro, bring me 1. And the others, that was like, shoot, I can get 2 if I wait, right? I get 2 if I wait. I get 1 right now. You want 1 now or 2 later? So he followed hundreds of these preschools into adulthood for 40 years. This was a long experiment, okay? He followed these kids for a long time. Those who were able to delay gratification went on to attend better colleges and became more competent at coping with frustration and stress. And then the kids who didn't delay gratification were more likely to become bullies and have drug problems into adulthood. Isn't that a huge difference? And so it's kind of stressful too, and there's a lot more to it as well. Like, how did these kids get to the point where they delayed gratification? Like I said, the consistent parenting, and children being able to expect, it wasn't because they had the no strings attached allowance. And it can be hard for some parents to be consistent than others for so many different reasons. But just knowing this information helps you to be at least aware of what is possible when you are consistent, so that you can try even more and you don't have to get this right 100% of the time. I think, I forgot what the number was, but even just a little bit, like just working to get 1% better on being consistent and doing what you said you would do each time when speaking to your children or offering or promising and things like that, will help them to develop delayed gratification. And this system helps too with the delayed gratification. I know my kids, well, if they had the $3 and something was 5, learning to like, okay, well, let me just keep the 3 and wait till next Friday and have the 5, and now I can get what I wanted. Like that, this system teaches the delayed gratification. 2, I would say if you're paying cash weekly, like pull it out the month's worth or the 2 weeks worth. in advance so that you can kind of like always have it, so that you can stay consistent, because that was a problem for us, not staying consistent. So when I started pulling all of it out at once and then paying them, it was easier to stay consistent with them. Because like with this delayed gratification, it is a skill that can be learned. It's not something that children are born with, so that is on the bright side. And then this is just one way to help them to develop that. As a result of using this system for my own kids, they have become more responsible shoppers. Okay, they price check, they're in the store like comparing, like they're really putting a lot of thought and effort into their shopping. They're not just like picking stuff, I got $20, let me go spend. Like they're thinking about it, they're very considerate, they're adding things up, they're thinking about the tax. And they're getting a real feel for money. When I first tried to teach them about money, I had bought fake money and the money was everywhere. And then I learned about the no strings attached allowance, and I was like, well, here we go. And within a couple of weeks, they learned so much more by physically handling life, real life experience, right? That's how we best learn, as opposed to when I bought the fake money. So I know that this can help your family to, one, get into chores, family contributions together. Get them on track. They ain't getting paid for them at all, but they will learn that it is good to contribute to the family and it benefits everyone. And then two, getting them some money in their hands so they can get that practice, so that they grow up and learn how to spend, save, and give efficiently, effectively, and become the successful, happy, productive, loving adults we all want our children to become. With that in mind, remember, you don't have to be perfect and rich to raise your children to be well and wealthy. You just have to be mindful.